Now, knowing that the 5K is still an aerobic event when you're comparing it to, say, like a 400 or an 800, which is really a highly anaerobic event, or maybe like the 200, you still have to really continue to focus on your speed. And without a doubt, that long run, the good news with the 5K in terms of training for a 5K is the long runs, you don't necessarily have to go out and do these 20-mile long runs like us marathoners or half marathon specialists, 10 milers. But for the 5K, you know, a long run of anywhere from around 8 to 10 miles is solid. It's, again, how you're setting up your training throughout your week is absolutely key. So you do have to really focus on doing one VO2 max workout per week. So you do want to get on the track, do those interval workouts where those like repeat 200s, repeat 400s on the track, where you're really recruiting those fast twitch muscle fibers to help you get that goal 5K race pace that you're aiming for to feel easier for you. That's absolutely essential. The hill repetitions, repeat 150s, repeat 100 meter hill repetitions where you're running all out on the way up, neither jogging or walking on the way down. Those are other great examples of how you can recruit those more fast twitch muscle fibers. Obviously, strength training, if you're doing one strength training per week, that's what I would recommend. That's what I did throughout my career from 1992 all the way to 2018 when I kind of retired out of the sport. Those are absolutely key and essential for you to run a faster 5K. But in terms of long runs for 5K training is, you know, I do talk about in other videos, if you're a regular viewer, you know this, that I really emphasize the importance of alternating your efforts. One weekend you're running long, slow, and easy, just relaxed, easy, relaxed mileage, time on your feet, building your endurance, burning fat. And then the following week, you want to make sure you're doing a varied pace long run. And I did write a few examples here for you all, and this is just for an athlete. This is what I would be doing if I was aiming for, say, a 17-minute 5K. Okay, that's 5:28 mile pace or 3:24 per kilometer pace. So again, the way these long runs are broken up, I'll give you 3 different examples, and they're 10 miles in distance. So again, you don't want to just jump into doing these types of long runs in like the first week of your build-up. Okay, you do want to build up a strong aerobic base. So spend a few weeks, 3 to 4 weeks running easy and relaxed, doing strides, 5 to 6 100-meter strides 2 to 3 times per week. Just do that during your aerobic base phase. That way you're working on your leg turnover. You're just reminding your legs of what you're preparing them to do in the coming weeks and months ahead. But after you've built that aerobic base and you start doing these varied pace long runs, this is an example, okay? Say it's like a 10 miler. Okay, again, 5:28 is the pace. So if you're trying to break 17 minutes, a 2-mile warm up, 2 miles at 5:55 mile pace, 2-mile jog, 1 mile at 5:35 and 5:35, 2 miles easy, closing with 1 mile at 5:18 mile pace. So again, you're closing that last mile 10 seconds faster than your goal race pace. Okay, in the early stages of your buildup, if you're a few weeks into say a 16-week buildup for your 5K, you know, your long runs might be, your varied pace long runs like this might be maybe a 5 or 6 mile long run, or 4 to 6 miles for when you're first starting out, and then you want to build into that. Okay, another example of a long run for 5K training that I would recommend, and the types of which I would be doing this specific type of workout, is a 1 mile warm up. Then you move into 3 miles at 5:38 mile pace. So it's 10 seconds slower than your race pace. Okay, it's still going to be tough. I mean, that's, again, you want to make sure that you've built a strong aerobic base and you're in decent anaerobic shape to do this before you start, especially going for a 10-mile distance at this effort. But the second example, 1 mile warm up, 3 miles at 5:38, 2-mile jog, 1 mile at 5:20, 2-mile jog, and then 1 mile in 5:30. Okay, so it's, again, you're varying up the paces. There's a mixture of both. You're running at goal race pace, slightly slower than goal race pace, or slightly faster than goal race pace. And again, you're allotting some recovery running in between each one of those harder bursts of effort throughout your long run. That's why it's a varied pace long run. It's not just a easy, relaxed long run every single weekend. And you can really mix this up. I mean, I do have training plans on RunDreamAchieve.com that I've created that have these types of long run workouts built into them. And again, you can use this as just an example, but you do want to make sure that you're getting away from just this running slow mindset all of the time. It's still important. It's still critical for you to run a fast 5K, but you want to make sure that you're jogging on easy days so that you're recovering from these hard efforts you're doing. And without a doubt, these types of long runs will test you both mentally and physically. The hardest workout I did as a middle to long distance runner was the long run. It wasn't track workouts. It wasn't doing, repeat 400s. Although all that was very hard, very strenuous, it's these types of long runs because they're so long. For a 5K athlete, 10 miles is a pretty decent distance. And especially it's even more aggressive when you're throwing in these really hard bursts and running at close to your goal race pace or slightly slower than your goal race pace. You throw all that in, it really tests you both mentally and physically. The third example of a type of long run for 5K training, in the same types of long runs that I was doing when I was training for the 5K all the way up to the marathon, especially for a 5K athlete, is again another 10-mile example. 1 mile jog, 2 miles at 5:40, 8-mile pace, so 20 seconds slower than goal race pace. Still very tough, but manageable. It's a little bit easier for you. Then you go into a 1 mile jog, 3 miles at 5:58 mile pace. So again, 30 seconds slower than goal race pace. 2 mile jog, and then you close the last mile in a 5:05. Okay, so this is a somewhat easier long run, still going to be aggressive, but you close that last mile at a much faster pace than you're aiming for in this case if you're training for a sub 17 minute 5K. So if you're training for a 20-minute 5K or a 21-minute 5K, or you're trying to break 18 minutes or 19 minutes, factor this in. If you're trying to break 15 minutes, factor in these types of varied paced efforts throughout your long run, and I think that you're going to get a much better result. Obviously, a short buildup is going to be much more difficult versus a longer buildup. If you're training for a 5K, I would recommend a minimum of 12 weeks and preferably 16 weeks if you really want to do it right. Because again, it does take time for your body to adapt to each types of intensity that you're throwing at it throughout your training week. Okay, you're not going to just immediately adapt to doing repeat miles on the track in 5:25 if you're doing like say 2 to 3 1600 meter reps in 5:25 to 5:30, slightly faster or a few seconds slower than your goal race pace. That's going to take you about 3 weeks to adapt to that particular intensity. Okay, obviously if you're doing mile repeats, you do want to make sure that if I was training for a 17 flat 5K, my goal would be to really work to get those mile repeats down to around 5:10 to 5:12 per rep, giving myself much less rest when I'm fitter and trying to run those reps faster when I'm in much better shape versus when I first start off. You might be starting off doing mile repeats at goal race pace, so trying to do maybe 4 to 5 1600 meter reps on the track in 5:28 with maybe 3 minutes rest, versus when you're in much better anaerobic shape and you're further along in your training and then you're doing those mile repeats or the 1600 meter repeats between 5:10 and 5:12, giving yourself 60 seconds rest. So you see the difference here? I mean, you do want to make sure that you're providing enough time for your body to handle what you're throwing at it, but you also want to be patient with yourself training for the 5K. Some of the other things I want you guys and gals to keep in mind, especially with long runs for 5K training, is when you're doing these varied pace long runs, don't wear training shoes. Get a lightweight pair of racing flats, but that does have cushion, okay? And do your varied pace long runs on preferably a flat surface, dirt roads or pavement, concrete, preferably dirt roads or grass if you can get that, but if not, wear racing flats when you do the varied pace long runs, because again, it's going to help you psychologically as well. This is the tactic that I followed all throughout my career. Every time I do a varied pace long run, I'd have racing flats on my feet. Again, I want to make sure that it helps me psychologically, and knowing that I'm seeing those splits, and it's going to help me psychologically to see that I'm running fast and that I feel fast when I'm running at those varied paced efforts. The following week, when you're running the easy, relaxed long run, training shoes. Okay. Obviously, continue to monitor how your body's feeling throughout the week as well. If you're feeling like you're say it's Achilles tightness or patellar tendonitis, or if you're feeling any type of soreness in your body, take a few days and relax. Either take the days off or jog. Instead of doing a harder anaerobic workout, make sure you're icing, making sure that you're propping your feet up on the wall for about 10 to 15 minutes every hard workout that you do. Again, that will help flush out that lactic acid and also help your body to recover and again, the faster we train, the more inflammation that's built up, the more anaerobic it is, which requires much more energy expenditure from us. So it's those little things that we do in the off hours. Okay, the proper amount of sleep, hydrating before, during, and after your workouts, making sure you're hydrating well during your long runs, placing water bottles out, placing a gel on one of those water bottles. Okay, if you're training, especially if you're training for the longer distances, you're not going to need gels in a 5K because it's over so fast. But these longer races, 10K, 10 mile, half marathon, marathon, ultra marathon, you want to make sure you're paying attention to ingesting calories, making sure you're getting in some calories, and not passing up those aid stations is absolutely essential. If you want to run a fast 5K or a marathon, especially the longer the race, the more nutrition and hydrating and ingesting those sugars, those gels, that glycogen comes into play. Good thing with a 5K is it's over so fast, you don't necessarily need that, but you do want to make sure that you're focusing on running a negative split even in a 5K. Don't try to win the race in the first mile. So wait till you get to the first mile of the race, so through the 1.6 kilometers of the race, and then plan your attack. Run that last 2.1 miles or last few kilometers of the race. Really attack it after you get past the first 1.6 kilometers or the first mile of the race. That was a tactic I used that helped me run 14:18 for 5K on the roads. And it was just a great suggestion from one of my coaches when I was in high school. He would say, don't try to make a move until you get past the first mile. And that helped me to kind of conserve my energy, still get out fast, but don't try to really start to race until you get past that first mile. Let the others take off too fast and burn up, okay? Not you, okay? But in terms of long runs for 5K training, it's the same concept if you're training for a shorter race as it is for the longer races. If you get beyond just running long, slow, and easy, and you really start to focus on a more strategic way of training, where you're mixing up a mixture of VO2 max, running at anaerobic threshold, running relaxed, very easy throughout your long run, during that very paced long run, and you're keeping it interesting. You're mixing it up. Okay, it could be doing several seconds, maybe like repeats, maybe like 10 times 20 seconds at 20 seconds below goal race pace throughout that long run. It could be like fartlek sessions as well. You're running running 10 miles, and you're running a certain portion of that running at 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy throughout the long run. Again, but these three examples of long runs for 5K training, I hope will be helpful for you, and some of the things that are covered here in this video. If you have any other questions regarding the 5K distance or any other distance, feel free to reach out to me. Leave me a comment below these videos, and make sure to check out RunDreamAchieve.com. Also, below all of my videos, I have resources there that will help you in your training and racing. I definitely hope that this video on long runs for 5K training has been helpful for you. And if you have any other suggestions for any future videos you want me to cover, let me know in the comment section. I'll definitely reach back out to you. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe and bell icon so when I make new videos, you'll be notified of it. And I will talk to you all I will talk to you guys and gals all in the next video.